Hello there everybody, and welcome back to Ancestors, the Humankind Odyssey. My name is Will, and this is an Ecologist Plays. Now, while we start, I do just want to give a big shout out to everybody that has subscribed to the channel. We have now finally reached 100 subscribers. We have finally reached the triple digits, which to me is really just amazing, and it just warms my heart to know that you guys have taken the time to subscribe to the channel and hopefully are enjoying the content. Now, with that being said, let's carry on and jump right into our new episode. Now, today, first of all, we are going to do a bit of a generational leap. Before we do anything else, we're just going back into our little cove here. We are going to go and do a quick little leap. Now, what this does is it pushes our time on by about, I think, 18 years, if I'm not mistaken, 18 or 15 years. And in the process of that happening, the elders in the clan will die. Our little hominid is died in any case. The elders will die, the adults will become elders, and the young ones will then become adults. Now, in order to do this, we will also need to fortify some of these reinforcements. Now, we get 1 reinforcement point for every baby that we have, and also 1 additional reinforcement point for every one of those babies that were that visited a meteorite. So the first time we visited that meteorite and they got their mutations, which you can see here, these little orange dots. The first time that we did that, we also got an additional 4 reinforcement points. Now, it would have been great if we had 6 babies. It would have meant we would have had 12 reinforcement points, but we have 8. So let us just quickly choose the most important ones. Yes, we want the clan members to automatically intimidate. 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we have 3 more to choose from. I'm going to go for this one because it leads up to the bipedalism, so being able to walk on 2 legs. And I think sound is also a good one. And that's basically it. So we choose which neuronal pathways to reinforce, and then we just press change generations, and it says anything that isn't locked will now have to be refilled. And that's fine by us. We want to pass a generation now, yes. And so basically the babies now will be growing up. The adults will be turning into elders, and all the elders die. So we now again have 4 adults, 4 elders, and now we're going to start with 0 babies, which means I just have to quickly restart that process of getting the whole family together. And we will now hopefully be able to go and recruit 2 additional clan members, because I think it was a glitch in the system that we actually didn't get 2 additional ones to actually recruit. So 15 years later we are moving on to. And there we go, the dead one, and everybody mourning the dead one. Okay, we've done another evolutionary leap, because we have now reinforced points, blah, blah, blah. Here are the usual, there are some remains, we'll come and visit that later. But hominids and elephants and all kinds of intelligent creatures are very much able to, or it seems at least, able to mourn the passing of individuals of the family. Now, I still can't see any new hominids up in the trees or down on the ground. Just quickly going to take this elder for a spin, see if I can see anything at all. Okay, so we actually have got someone at the bottom there. We just go like that. You can see we have finally we've located a female. Great. So let's make our way there. I should probably have marked her. There you are. So that is a female that isn't part of our clan at the moment. So we are going to recruit her. And that's going to give us some much needed genetic variety as well. Because, well, if you always just have the same individuals inbreeding, there is, of course, the chance that you're not going to have babies. But in this game, what happens is that if you have a family-related pair, so basically very closely related individuals, and you accidentally make them a couple. Oh, let me just quickly stand still here. There we go. If you accidentally make them a couple, what then happens is that they will not have any offspring. So you basically just wasted the bonding. Okay, so this individual here is thirsty. Looks like thirsty. Okay, now what that means is we need to find a coconut and open that up for this individual. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so we made it back to the female hominid over here, and we have a coconut in our hands. So let's just quickly inspect that to learn something new about it. And I think it says it's Cocoa Droop, or Cocos Droop, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Cocos Drooper. Now that's interesting because a coconut isn't actually a true nut. It is actually a drupe, which is a completely different type of fruit. We're just smashing it open. We have now officially opened it up. So we now should be able to drink from it. Now it's kind of similar to how you would actually crack open a coconut, although in most cases what you'll actually end up doing is using a sharp stick to impale that coconut on that, or as I like to call them, cocoa drupes, because in fact they are a different type of fruit. So we're just going to give this to the hominid over here. She should be able to then drink that and will be recruited into our clan. So the reason this isn't a nut is that a nut is a dry fruit that, as far as I recall, has got a hard shell and it's a dry fruit, and that's basically it. It's a single fruit as well. Whereas a coconut, in actual fact, has a softer layer outside. So similar to your typical drupes, and I think peaches and things like that will be drupes. They've got a skin, then they've got a softer mesocarp, which basically means middle fruit. And then they have a hard pit in the inside. So that's technically what you have here. Though with the coconut it is very confusing because what you think is actually the hard shell is in fact the pit inside, and it's very, very complicated. This little hominid really is getting tired quite quickly. It is an elder after all, so you can see the circle in the middle really is quite small. It doesn't have a lot of life left in him, or her. I'm not sure whether it's female or male that we've got here. But we are just going to swing through the trees, not a care in the world, because if this old one dies, oh well. Okay, let's make our way down. Whee! Okay, we are back, and we have recruited a new individual. And everybody's very happy about the fact that we now are joined by another member, which means we just need one more individual in order to have a full adult group of 6 and be able to have 6 babies as well. Now, let's actually take this one here. Let's rather have an adult. And I felt completely naked going outside there without my proper rock and stick combo. Now, as you can see, we are developing the neurons by doing these things without the children being present, or the young ones being present. But we are not getting any neuronal energy for the things that we do. As you can see on the right-hand side, it's not filling up at all. However, we are at least developing the neurons, which is good, because it means we are still going to be able to have access to the different skills. Now, I'll show you a little bit later why we haven't actually looked at the young ones, or the dead ones that are lying on the ground there. I'll talk about that a little bit later when we actually go and visit their skeletons. Let's just listen out for one more hominid. Just going on another little foray to find another adult, and I'll be back with you momentarily. Okay, so I think it was like 15 minutes that I spent looking for another individual, and every time I called out, I heard another hominid answer me, but I never could find it, and I looked everywhere. Well, I say everywhere, but if you look way at the top of that branch over there, there is another male right up there. So let's just jump to this tree over here and make our way up to that solitary shame individual right up there. Now, while I was up in the tree a moment ago, I did hear a battalier eagle also calling out, so it was getting ready to attack me. We just switch to my weapon hand just in case. Let's see what is wrong with you, little one. Now, a little bit difficult. He may be hungry. Either hungry or poisoned. I'm not sure which one it is. So let's drop the rock and grab a mombin fruit over here. And let's see whether he's hungry. If he is hungry, great, then we've got food for him. If he isn't hungry, we'll have to find something else for him to cure his poison. Now, this is kind of a trial and error. You learn basically to read the body language of the hominids. And he is hungry, so he is going to now join us. Let's just start heading down a bit, just so that we are not attacked by the battalier. Okay, so we have now finally got full land. Ooh, I just saw something. Okay, so we heard the battalier in the area, and we are right in its nest. So let's steal an egg while we are here. Also very important for our hominid, in order to actually become omnivorous, have to be able to eat and digest eggs. Now we have also, and I'll show you in a moment, we have obtained another neural pathway, and that is to stand up for short periods of time, I do believe. It was in the Matrosity group, so that's basically, that develops into bipedalism, being able to run on two legs. I'll show you that in a moment. Now let's just quickly get to the water here. Our poor hominid really has had a bad time as well. Let's just inspect this. This is going to be bird's egg, I think. They're probably going to call it Avis ovum. Oh no, they gave it the scientific name of the battalier eagle. Okay, Tetrophius something. We'll probably see the battalier eagle a little bit later as well. So let's just eat a little bit here. Our poor little hominid is very, very hungry and thirsty. Now, while we are walking around here just eating a few berries, notice the bright red color of these berries. Now, whenever you've got berries that are this bright red in color, they will most likely be eaten by birds. Now, the birds are very good at spotting the bright red colors, so very good color sight. So bright red colors obviously would attract birds, and in the process of the birds eating it, they would then of course disperse the seeds a little bit later when it's pooped out. Now, of course, mammals, in many cases, hominids or primates in particular, also very good color vision, so we would then also be attracted to the bright red coloration. So whenever you see those bright red berries, like with the miracle berry here, the Tami berry, pretty much guaranteed that is dispersed or eaten and then dispersed by either certain mammals, especially primates, or birds. Now comes the tedious part, and the part that very often people, when I've talked to them about the game, they say it's great, but it gets tedious. And what they're referring to is this section that now has to happen. So I'm just going to get all the adults to follow me, not all the individuals, I just want all the adults to follow me. We are going to form bonds. Now we need to actually pair up. And this reminds me of that pairing up scene in Dinosaur, the movie. Is it Disney or Pixar or many years ago. And we have to find out whether any of these individuals are actually related. And we'll say there next to single, it will say family related if any of them are. So these, there it says family related. Now what we're doing here is grooming, allo grooming, which is basically a way of strengthening bonds. And in this case, it results in couples forming. So these two, this male and female, they are now a couple. Now you can mistime it, and if you do like that, then the bond goes down. But once you reach the full bar, then you have a bond that is formed between these two, and now they would be a couple, and they would be having offspring with one another. So in this case, it's a monogamous system. So one male, one female. Whereas in many species, what you'll actually end up having is either a polygynous or a polyandrous system. That's what you will very often find in many species in the wild. Polygynous being one male, many females. So you'll have one male in charge of a harem, for example, or polyandrous, meaning that you've got one female having many male partners. You'll find that in many different birds, or in some bird species around the world. Not very common, not as common as polygyny around the world. Okay, so we are again going to put the sharp stick down. We go to one of these little nests that we've made, and now we just call our mate. And once she has come over, we're going to have a very, very classy cutscene where we just have funny monkey sounds. And now this female is pregnant. So this is 2. She is now pregnant. Now we can, if we wanted to, we can now give birth. But that takes a lot more time. So what I usually end up doing is I end up switching to another male. I get him to lie down, call his mate over, and they end up mating. So eventually we have 3 females pregnant at the same time, and we basically then give birth to 3 babies at the same time, which is so much easier than going through the whole process over and over and over and over and over and over 6 times. Now we just do it twice. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Okay, so now we have 3 females that are pregnant, signified by the little circles in the bottom right corner there that have circles within them. So that's obviously a female with a baby within her. Okay, so that's quite amazing that you can find out all these little different details about them. The one that isn't glowing orange is the new female that we have recruited, the one without a genetic mutation. So we are now again going to lie down. Just quickly call our mate closer. And now we are going to give birth. If we're saying give birth, all 3 females are going to give birth at the same time. Usually what people end up doing is they do this individually for every single individual. But that takes a lot more time, and it progresses the years a little bit further and further and further a little bit. In any case, so basically now we have the fetus developing and it being born. And there it is, a little baby. Useless as all babies generally are. The parents being very, very happy about this little baby that is born. And then, of course, that baby has to get to the point where it can now follow the clan around. Otherwise, you have this useless little baby, which just has to be carried around the whole time. But instead, we are now 15 months later, so what, about a little bit more than a year and 3 months. We now have this baby being able to walk around on its own and eat food on its own and basically just being able to follow the clan around. But we are still going to carry it around on our backs while we are doing stuff. Now that we are looking around, you can see that there should be 3 babies. There are 2 on that side and there's another one over here. 3 babies in the area. And now we're just going to do this process again of calling the females over, getting them pregnant, and then giving birth to them all at once. Okay, and now we have 6 babies in the clan, which is marvelous. And now what I've been holding off doing, although I did accidentally do it with the 1, is actually visiting the graves or the skeletons of these dead hominids. So if you go up to them, you can see that Red over here has died 17 years ago. And if we go and visit these, you'll see on the right hand side, bottom corner, we get quite a lot of neuronal energy, which we can then basically immediately use to get some of the neuronal pathways back that may not have been reinforced when we did the generation leap. So that's a nice way of, basically, if you had 6 dead elders, you would have gotten that entire circle in the center there, or in the bottom there, full, which would have enabled you to basically get all your neuronal pathways back, at least in the initial game over here. So we've got these mutations. They are now matured, meaning that they are now in the population. So basically, the babies that we visited the site with, the meteorite with, they had mutations in them, but it's not expressed in the actual family yet, or in the generation yet. They have to become adults or elders for the mutations to really be part of the tribe. And then when you do an evolutionary leap, that is then reinforced and basically part of your hominid's genetic makeup. We developed all the neuronal pathways we could have, and as you can see, we still have some neuronal energy left. And let's also go and look at something right over here. We walk through the water here, we'll get to this spot over here, which, as you can see, is unknown to us. And this is a fishing spot. A spot that will allow us to either catch crayfish or some kind of crustacean, or fish, which will then also help us with becoming more omnivorous. Now, you can only do this once every now and again. But, as you can see, we have been successful, which is amazing. And let's just quickly take the fish off the spiky stick. Okay, off the sharp stick. This should be Micropterus, which is the genus of bass. not indigenous to South Africa. This is a northern hemisphere fish, and in actual fact, Micropterus, not sure whether both the smallmouth and the largemouth bass are in the Micropterus genus, but both of them are highly invasive here in South Africa, brought in, believe it or not, by nature conservation many years ago to promote fishing. Initially to get people not to catch indigenous fish, but then of course the bass invaded, and as a result they started eating all the indigenous fish, which led to the local extinction of quite a few species and a lot of other species being critically endangered. So unfortunately, nature conservation in the early 1900s didn't really know what on earth they were doing, and they kind of just brought in a whole bunch of highly invasive species. You know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So yeah. There is one other thing that I want to do, and that is to head up to the cliff at the top there. Now, as you can see, we now are able to, if we stand still, we can now stand on two legs and start walking, and we get a lot of neuronal energy, indicating that we are getting neuronal energy for this new thing that we are doing. And so if we want to become more bipedal, we have to just keep on doing that. And the theory is that hominids became more bipedal in order to actually, as we can do in this game, if we get a flat area here, if we look and try to look at things, but we want to see a little bit further, we stand up and we look, oh, we can see further now. And now we start walking, developing those muscles needed for bipedalism. Now, what I'm looking for here is the third type of stone. Now, we have had granite and we have had obsidian, but this, I think, is basalt. Yes. Now, with granite, we can make a grinder, which is very useful for making all kinds of medicinal stuff, or grinding down leaves to apply to our bodies as a buff against bleeding and broken bones and those types of things. Whereas the basalt here really is an amazing chopper. We can make a basalt chopper with that. So this basalt chopper will now allow us to actually make sharp sticks faster than we were able to do with the obsidian scraper. The obsidian scraper is better at harvesting carcasses, whereas the basalt chopper here really is very good at making sharp sticks. So that's kind of good to know. So previously it took us 10 chops or 10 hits to actually make a sharpened stick. Now it should take us fewer hits. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 instead of 10. And that's an important time difference. And it's a new day, full of opportunity, as Marcus from Borderlands would say. Now, what we are going to quickly do is just alter the Natal grass stems here, develop something new, a new tool, which is awesome. Now, you may, of course, be wondering what on earth can we use this small little stem for? And the answer is right up there. There is a beehive right up there. Now, of course, Apis, the genus of honey-producing bees, don't live in hives or in man-made hives. Naturally, they don't live there. They would be living wild, like the ones are over here. Now, of course, you need some way of getting the honey, and in this game, the way to do that is to make a small little stem by stripping the Natal grass cycad's leaves to get to the little stem at the center there, or the base of the leaf, the petiole, basically. And in the process, you get what is called mel in this game, and that is honey. So mel being Latin for honey, and so in the honey bee, I'm not sure whether this is the honey bee all around the world, but in South Africa at least, we have got Apis mellifera, which is a subspecies capensis, so the Cape honeybee. And Apis being bee, or meaning bee, and mellifera meaning honey producing. So it's the honey producing bee. The one basically used for honey production in agriculture. Okay, so we are just walking around a little bit on two legs there, and let's just throw down our little stem. Okay, so that's quite cool. Now, the stem there was called the Stangeria Eriopus caulis, caulis being stem, And that brings me to something quite interesting, and that is that the scientific names that we have nowadays is what we call the binomial system. And this was developed by Carolus Linnaeus. I think he was a Swedish botanist, and he developed this method of us having Latin, or using Latin because that was the scientific language of the day, using Latin to describe plants. And he said, no, we should only use one specific name for a plant to describe it, so that everybody will then know what plant we are referring to, or all scientists will then know what plant we are referring to. Now, it may be difficult to think that something like Carta edulis, or Carpobrotus edulis, or Carpobrotus lichiosus, or whatever plant you are referring to, are actually, that's easy to remember. But before the binomial system, there was actually the polynomial system, the many-named system that was used to describe plants or to classify plants. And this system really was not as easy. It basically gave every species a name consisting of many different words. So tomato, for example, was, and I'm hopefully going to remember this, the name for tomato was Solanum coli inerme herbaceo folius pinnatus incisus, which is a hell of a long name. Try saying that 5 times quickly. But basically means Solanum being tomato, Colus being, or coli being stem, inerme being unarmed, herbaceo meaning herbaceous or soft-stemmed, not a woody plant, and then folius being leaves, pinnatus being pinnate, so a leaf that is split, so a compound leaf, and incisus being with teeth. So it's basically describing the entire plant. You're describing a herbaceous plant with compound leaves. Oh, why are you tired already? We just took one hell of a long nap. Anyway, so basically describing the entire plant. But now it's actually just such a shortened name. I don't know what the actual binomial name of a tomato is, but I know the polynomial name of a tomato. So whenever you see these scientific names and you think that's difficult, just remember it could have been so much worse. If it weren't for Carolus Linnaeus, we might still have been stuck with a polynomial name, which would have been a very, 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 very challenging thing. And I really would have pitied my students even more, because they have to learn all these scientific names of plants and animals, and they imagine having to learn the polynomial names thereof. Let's have a look, take a stab at the Metridiocurus. Okay, there it goes. We are going to try and hunt Metridiocurus a bit. Okay, let's see again. Another step. Oh, there we go. Killed the giant warthog. So Metridiocurus is now dead. Wonderful. Now, they call this the giant warthog, but it's not in the same genus as warthogs that we have nowadays. So the warthogs of Africa, I believe, is in the Pharcocurus genus, whereas this is Metridiocurus. But you can see the typical warthog features there with the teeth that are curved up. So those teeth there, the ones in the bottom jaw, obviously bottom or teeth from the bottom jaw that are curved up, but the ones that you see in the top there are also actually teeth, or are teeth in the top jaw that have rotated, or the direction in which they are coming out of the jaw actually is rotated, resulting in them curving upwards, giving a warthog that very, very formidable look. Let's see, if we are like this, yes, we can actually butcher with the chopper as well. This having been the first warthog that we have now killed, or the first giant warthog we have killed, we have to take a souvenir with us and go and eat it. Now we can eat it, and then both of these eat it as well, but then they have an upset stomach and they're pretty useless thereafter. So let's take this piece of meat home, and we're going to eat it there and take a bit of a nap. So we've killed a giant warthog, which is great. And we're now just going to go home. Now what we have just seen flying over there is a parrot as well. Let's see whether it is present on one of the branches here. There it is. Oh, cool. I'm not sure which species this is showing. Maybe the Senegal parrot, if I'm not mistaken, which is from West Africa. So this kind of plays off in West Africa or East Africa, the whole tropical region of Africa, basically. And there are two more over there. There they go. There's one. Bye-bye. I like the fact that even though you can't interact with those birds there, and also you can't interact with the grey-crowned cranes that we will see later on as well, they are still there. They are part of the landscape, which I think is marvelous. The developers here have created a world that actually, to me at least, feels alive. It includes things not only that you can use, but also that just sets the scene of Miocene Africa. Now, those species that we do see here, the parrots, for example, here being the Senegal parrot, and the African grey, which you do see often in captivity as well, they wouldn't have been around 10 million years ago. They would have arrived a little bit more recently, but you would have had parrot-like birds, or parrots at least, occurring in Africa. Bye-bye. We would have had parrots occurring in the area back in the day. So we just have to go back to our settlement, which is right over there. Let's just swing over in that direction and feel tired. Almost missed our branch. Almost had a broken bone or died again. But now that we are far away from the carcass of the Metridiocurus, of the giant warthog, we are going to inspect the meat here and eat it as well. This is something new to us, mammalian meat. We are going to eat this in order to basically develop the ability to eat mammal meat a little bit more. And in doing so, we become omnivorous. Now, we are going to get an upset stomach from this because it's not something we are used to. So basically, if you are vegetarian or vegan and you end up getting meat or eating meat, you are going to suffer. Ask me. It happened to me 2 years ago, where I really thought I was dying due to COVID because I had eaten too much meat and cheese after not eating it for quite a few months. But in this case, we are just going to flush it down with some water, which doesn't work if you have eaten too much meat after not having eaten meat for a long time. But we're just going to flush this a bit and feel better almost immediately. Great. And then I also want to just quickly show you, because we developed the ability to walk short distances on 2 legs and have got the ability to manipulate items, we can now carry this around. Now this would be a spiky branch. Okay, we are getting very tired as we are inspecting this, but this is a spiky branch, a thorn bush. Pineta meaning spines or with spines. And now that we can carry this around, we can to some extent create barriers. By putting it down on the ground there, collecting another one, and another one, and another one, and then by just jumping up and down on it, we can now create something new. We can create a thorn bush barrier, a thorn bush wall, Spinetorum claustra. So claustra meaning enclosed, so this is a thorn branch enclosure. Now this doesn't work to actually keep out predators, so they can still get to you, but you know, it's a nice little addition. You can to some extent build a little barrier around your home. And you can do the same with normal branches, although I tend to prefer using the normal branches as sharpened sticks, so as basically as makeshift spears. But on that note, thank you again for joining me on this little adventure, and once again, thank you so much to those of you who have subscribed to the channel. It really means a hell of a lot to me that you have done so and that we have reached triple digits. It's really such an amazing feeling. I will be back next week with another episode of Ancestors, and then we are going to head out into the woodland area. So we're going to go explore a little bit further. We have now developed some neuronal pathways. But next time, going to head out further to where the forest starts thinning out. And we are probably going to relocate our entire clan, which is going to be dangerous and possibly quite a bit of fun. So once again, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe, and I will see you all soon.